Hey y'all, what's up? Let's see. Let me get in the frame. What is going on with my camera, girl? Get in the frame. What are you doing? Oh my god, y'all. I ain't got no makeup on. Okay, so y'all see me. It's Nita, your favorite diva. We're gonna at least put some lip gloss on. Somebody asked me what was this. This is called Cupcaking. This is Fenty. This is Rihanna. Fenty Beauty. It's actually my favorite. It looks so good with my skin tone. What's up, Kendall? I see you here. We are ready to drag. Are we ready to drag? Let me turn off all my stuff so things won't be danging in here. Okay, y'all. No ponytail. No makeup, y'all. Let's get it. We're just gonna make it do what it do. Hey, Miss Kira. We're gonna make it do what it do. I at least threw on some earrings and some lip gloss for you. Child. We're gonna go ahead and get into it. Let's do that. I don't know why my screen is doing something funky. Like StreamYard is always acting a fool. Okay, y'all. I'm sorry. Here we go. I'm just going to press play.
Make sure that you subscribe on Apple Podcasts and receive downloads every time we drop one. Well, this is part 2 of the episode, You Reap What You Sow, with my homie, Derrick Jaxn. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much, man.
So the first episode was pretty good. How you feel?
I feel good. I feel comfortable. Yeah, I'm glad to know that you ain't going to bite my head off. I was a little bit nervous.
Do you feel like, did you come in here with a little bit of guards up? You made a comment. You was like, hey, you thought that I had DM'd you prior, like a few years. We say what year?
2014.
2014. I said that was my boy Bashay.
Okay.
Shout out to Bashay Williams. You said it reached out to you about using Dear Future Wife.
Yeah.
And you said that at that time you was a hothead and you was like, what?
Man, forget you. Forget you. Praise the Lord.
He said, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Man, look, I've been doing it, so you ain't gonna tell me now.
Yeah.
I ain't know what you was on, man, but
Yeah.
I appreciate you, dog. It's like, this is a really good conversation.
Yeah, that was Bashay that sent that to you, but shout out to him. He actually talked about on my previous episodes. He actually gifted me with a trademark for Dear Future Wife. So shout out to that brother. So we're at the point in the conversation where you were contemplating calling off the marriage. What happened for you to decide to go forward with the engagement?
I just felt like it was too much pressure. It was like we're getting close to the wedding. Of course, the stress of that. I think she was still pregnant. She was pregnant now with my baby boy, Derrick Jr. And I'm like, it's so much on the line. And then on top of that, I'm doing my thing in my career. So we had sat down maybe a little bit before this and mapped out a plan. Well, I mapped out a plan with her because most of the stuff that I had done from the first book to the initial whatever was in my single stages. So this is the first time we're going into this chapter together. And I'm like, I got you by my side. This is what the play is. We're going to do this, this, and this. And then in the next couple of years, we're going to be able to just be philanthropists and be multimillionaires and whatever. So at this point, I'm making multi-millions in my 20s, so she already know what's up. So I didn't want to abandon ship.
You was making multi-millions?
Yeah. In my 20s, I was making multi-millions. Glory to God. But
so that was the stuff you were doing relationship and other businesses.
Businesses. I had other businesses.
You was balling out of control in your 20s.
I wouldn't say balling out of control.
You was balling. You had millions of dollars.
Well, the thing about business, man, even when you got millions of dollars, there's IRS, there's expenses. You know, if I placed an order so one of my products was a date night card game. One order might be $250,000 in order to get the warehouse right. And then you got trucks, you got, warehouse, you got payroll, $70,000 a month. But the biggest thing was—
Hold on, you ain't gonna just throw these numbers. Your payroll was $70,000 a month?
Yeah, man, at its height. You know, it fluctuated depending on who I had on. But if I had a marketing director or whatever, it was about $70,000 a month.
So you was running this like a for real legit business.
It was a for real legit business.
Yeah, you wasn't just sitting up there saying, "Oh, I'm just, I'm doing this like a little mom and pop stuff." Just doing. You had, like you said, warehouses.
Yeah, man. Yeah, infrastructure. But I still had to work to make money. And so for me, I was like, I want to be home. I want to be home with my babies, But the first couple years as they're infants and toddlers, and we sitting there game planning, I'm like, it's going to look like this, this, and this. I'm going to have to grind. I'm putting some stuff together so we can have residual money. And then with that, we had this whole plan, basically multiple homes, mama's coming down and moving. And I was like, I don't want to abandon ship from all of that. And of course the pressure and so on. But man, we were breaking down toward the end, man, even in the engagement.
And then what made you press forward?
Exactly what I said, the pressure, the plan, like don't give up on it. Like somehow, some way, we still got to make this work.
And then how'd you recalibrate and say, let's get married?
Honestly, we just went through with the wedding. You kind of riding that high. Her uncle came down. Unfortunately, her dad had passed, so he wasn't there, but that male presence was there on her end. A little bit before that, I had talked to her mom. Me and her mom didn't have the greatest relationship, but she gave me a blessing to marry her daughter. So all of this stuff just felt like it was coming full circle. So on the wedding day, my mama there, my uncle, my girl, everybody on both our sides of the family is there. It's beautiful. And it's like, all right, maybe now we can kind of wash away some of the stress that was going into here of planning the wedding and all that and get back to the plan. We're gonna save the world, and we also gonna break generational curses, and we're gonna raise up these.
Baby, I can tell you, just like Miss Kira said, keeping up appearances, trying to do it. Like the one thing that I did catch from everything that he's really been saying is it's like still just trying to keep it going, keep it going, keep it going, keep it going. And it was obviously broke. It was obviously broke. And, it feels so bad how we put so much pressure on us because of society. Society tells you want a husband, you want 2.5 children, a house with the picket fence, and all of that stuff. And you do things that does not really serve you. It really doesn't. It really isn't in your best interest. It really, I just really think people need to live a little bit before they be trying to have children and, lock down spouses. I don't even think people really know themselves before they get all linked up, married, and all that other stuff. Because I think, when I get married, I think I got married at like 28. And my ex-husband was 26. Child, we ain't know nothing about nothing. I mean, I did at that point, I had bought a house. I felt like I was very accomplished. I had a really good job. And girl, not to be telling all my damn business, what I knew what I was doing, like at least she was being somewhat kept. We'll get into it. I think he's going to be talking about all of the things that they did like after they got married. I wasn't doing that. I was like, well, I got my person, he loves me, and we're going to just do it. And I was the breadwinner. I was keeping up appearances, trying to make sure, everything was right. And, when we would have problems, like, your family members will be in there and they'll be like naysayers and stuff. And we're like, we're going to keep fighting and we're going to keep fighting. We're going to prove them wrong. Girl, if I could tell my younger self anything differently, like, let it go, girl, let it go. And, I just feel like a lot of times we keeping up them appearances and baby, it's not right. That whole thing we just went through with the wedding, and I'm just like, yeah, no, that doesn't sound good. Like, I mean, it was a wedding. It felt like you were trying to have a wedding, not really think about a marriage. So the wedding is one day in your life that's a really to do a big thing. You get dressed up, you look really beautiful, you think you're getting your knight in shining armor. People be so hung up on a wedding. That's why I think celebrities get married so much, because they just want to have like a big dress up day or something. I'm just like, that's what I thought with Safari and Erica. Child, if anybody had any red flags before she should have walked down that aisle, was Erica. And I just feel like people get caught up in the wedding and they don't really think about the marriage. So, yes, absolutely a red flag. It's crazy. Right. Some baby, and there was nothing. There was nothing. And I can say that 15 years later, there was nothing to prove, baby. Proving them wrong messes you up every time, girl. Every single time. It's okay to not be like everybody else. Yeah. Yeah. And child. And you be trying to warn people, you be trying to tell people, warn them, your young divas and everything like that. And they just get all caught up, and then they'll learn. They'll learn. Some people gotta learn the hard way. Some people learn from people experiences and wisdom. Some people think that they just better than the next person and stuff like that. They'll learn. So anyway, I just had to say that because that just sounded like yikes. Like that just didn't sound like a good foundation at all. Especially they didn't even have the best foundation, but just getting married, we just went through with the way. Yikes. Let's not do that. Okay.
Beautiful children.
And what happened?
Not that. It was about a good week or two of us having a honeymoon phase, a honeymoon break. But again, I was still, just my experience was, okay, I clearly haven't been perfect. Actually, in the engagement, it was after the counseling session. I went and had lunch with a girl. And that's when I got kind of shook, like, man, you can't go back. And I didn't sleep with her, but that was cheating. That was totally, wrong or what have you.
So you had lunch. You didn't get a hand job?
No, nothing. No, but we had texted and stuff. So I had inappropriate conversations and stuff like that.
Was that somebody you messed around with in the past?
No, never messed around with her before. But it was a girl I was clearly attracted to, and I knew better than to go and even have lunch with her. And I went, sneaking around and stuff. So
did you have plans to smash? Keep it 100.
No, I ain't gonna lie to you. I'm trying to think back, but you're talking about 2017, 6 years ago. I absolutely would have if we got into the same vicinity. But at that point, I was just in my feelings. And like, man, I just need to get away, be around a female, whatever. But that was in like mid 2017. So cut all that off. Going forward, I may have had conversations with girls at most, but like the worst thing about me is I was still maybe a flirt, maybe responding to something like that. But now that we married, okay, there's no chicks or whatever. We focus. We got this plan. It's 2018, and we're still having a ton of disconnect. We will come together for a little bit, and we'll be intimate. We'll be friends. But we're disconnecting a lot. And this is going into the birth of our son. So again, I'm thinking pregnancy emotions, it's always something. But then on my end, I'm just wearing thin. It's been a year-long engagement, which was, really tough for us both, I'm sure. I know something is wrong. I know I ain't doing everything perfect, but I'm trying. At this point now, I'm just, I'm opening up the doors on everything financially. I'm talking about new Range Rover, new this, new that. Then I'm still rubbing feet. I'm still asking how her day was, trying to be emotionally connected, trips out the country, just whatever. Because I'm thinking maybe she doesn't feel invested in, or maybe she don't feel soft life enough. So it would happen for a little bit where we're good. And then we would kind of disconnect again. And then baby boy is born. And then now we kind of riding the high of that. So it was a lot of volatile ups and downs, go through the whole year. And now her mom.
Y'all, I'm having a problem understanding where this disconnect kept coming. Like he keeps talking about the ups and downs, but what did you do to contribute to the reaction that you got? The response. I feel like he is leaving out key details in the story because it's just this off and on. And like I said, Danae is a little cool. She a little ticky boom boom. But what was apparent to me that she loved that nigga dirty draws. Hello? So I need to understand what is going on. Like, I stop leaving out the story, because I hate when people want to tell you the response, but what did you do? You know what I'm saying? That's always where I'm like this. I'm still listening, and then he's still just kind of like tap dancing, and you saying a whole bunch of nothing. I need to know exactly what happened. Child. Motherfuckers always want to leave out the important stuff, okay? So be wary when you hear like a side of the story because they never want to tell what they did in order to get the response. So, yeah.
Friend who claims to be like a prophet. We go and meet with her, and this started the kind of, I call it honestly a little bit too far, the super religious thing that started happening. And the prophet friend of her mom was like, y'all gonna have a lot to go through, and y'all gonna this, that, and the other. And then she started speaking, and I ain't like that. And we kind of clashed about that because it's connected to her mom. But this is the first year of the marriage where it's like, man, now we're really, really falling apart.
She said, y'all gonna go through a lot of stuff?
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, it's almost like the Zodiacs. They'd be like, yeah, today you're gonna blink. Like this, yeah, it's life. We're gonna go through life. You know what I'm saying?
Today we're gonna blink.
I just was weirded out by the whole, I didn't understand at that time prophecy, and I believe in it now. I've met totally legitimate.
So when you look back on it, was she right or wrong?
Yeah, she was about that. Yeah, she was absolutely. We went through all kinds of stuff. Absolutely. But for me, it was just a weird dynamic to introduce
early on in your marriage. Like,
yeah.
Up for doom at the beginning.
And then it started the whole, what God told me and God said, and I'm like, you my wife, not my pastor.
Oh, she started saying that to you from that relationship.
Yes. And then they formed a little 4-person church, which I had a different name for it at the time.
What name you call it? Cult? A cult. So she was going to this 4-person church. Now she began to prophesy over you. What prophecy?
It didn't get super heavy on that until 2019, the actual prophesying and reading prayers off a piece of paper and stuff like that. But it was 2018. This is when I got the haircut by the girl that I used to deal with whenever we were single. Now, I'm thinking it's okay, and I hope she don't feel no kind of way about me saying this, but we got to be real. At this point, I honestly thought she had transformed, like transgendered over. She wasn't as the same person, okay? Like definitely homeboy. Looking at
the one that cut your hair.
The one that cut my hair.
Okay, all right.
So when I couldn't get people to cut my hair, and this became a big deal. This was like one of the major fallouts before we really started to just plummet. The girl that posted me, I was at her barbershop, but she posted me and put hearts on it or something like that. But at this point, hope she don't get offended. She looked like a boy. And I saw that she looked like a boy. I'm like, oh, it's all good now. You know what I'm saying? People, this is a new age. She a man. She living her truth, his truth, what have you. Nope. Danae found out about it by seeing this story. Danae is one of them passionate people both ways. And it's a beauty when it's a beauty. But she also knows how to hit you where it hurts, what to say to you, how to say it. So she said some stuff, man. And at this point, I'm like, I'm tapped. Now I'm really tapped.
Did she call you gay?
No, she didn't call me gay.
I thought you said that because of the picture of the girl.
She looked like a street hooper or something like that, man. She just looked like I'm not trying to be messed up.
I know, but I'm saying,
I'm thinking it's cool. But
what did Naya say that was like hit below the belt?
She's still calling me an F-boy. She's still saying I'm a cheater. And at this point, I'm not cheating. And so again, it's not good enough to do stuff intermittently because ultimately, even whenever you look like you're doing something, you're making your person relive the same trauma all over again. Me, at that point, I was so heavy into defensiveness. So the moment she called me something, instead of like sitting with that and saying like, what makes you feel like, have you been like all the stuff that we probably know to do now, at that point, I'm just defending myself. Like, man, I can't do nothing right. All you do is mention what I don't do or what I do wrong. And what it looked like I'm doing wrong. But I done did it and I listened to all this stuff I've been doing and it ain't nothing.
Yep.
So it started that clash because she feeling unheard, I'm feeling unheard. And this is toward the end of the marriage. And this actually preceded the first time that I stepped out in the marriage.
Caregiver coach Pat Bailey, how are you doing today?
You know what, Lateris, I'm really not doing as well as I could today.
Why not?
Because
it's going to be a fast forward.
Connect with me on social media.
Oh, you confessed it.
Yeah.
How long after?
This was when we separated in 2020. So this was a little.
All right, y'all. Didn't I say that yesterday? How you communicate, like you don't even really know how to communicate effectively. Like, I mean, you spent most of your time in high school, you leave out, you get connected to a guy, y'all are talking at each other, not talking to each other. You're talking to respond, you're not listening, and all of this stuff. That sounds like exactly what he just said. But what is he talking about? A transgendered. She's not the same person she used to be. Now, low key, high key. You remember how people used to talk and you know how you try to disguise some things. Now, I don't know if somebody's gonna go that far to like be dressing like a stud, like, oh, ain't no way she's gonna think I'm interested in you because you present like a dude or something like that. Baby, my mind be going everywhere. I done seen a little bit of everything. So I was just like, you know, he went through that whole elaborate thing to describe that. And I was just like, was that the point? Was that what you were trying to do? So you can intentionally throw her off by posting that picture. And like, oh, baby, you shouldn't have nothing to be worried about, you know, da-da-da-da. Does that make a little sense? Because it's so funny that he picks that story to go into detail. And I feel like it was a thought out plan. Could be just me. Could be just me. All right, I'm gonna put y'all comments up, but we're gonna keep on going.
Maybe a year and some change after.
Is that when she left in 2020 and went back home to her mom?
So yeah, we had, I told her I wanted to separate. Like, so I was saying that year just off and on. It might be 4 or 5 months I'll go without doing nothing. And then we still clashing at this point. I'm in the condo. I think y'all talked about that a little bit.
So you had two residences. You as again, you balling out of control. You had this big old mansion, and then you had this condo in downtown Atlanta, right?
Yeah. We always had plans of having multiple homes. So at first it was my warehouse, but it was too busy over there. Then I got like Airbnb. It was like $1,000 a night. So we talked about having a condo, and then what it would look like for her to be okay with that. Clearly, it's probably not going to be.
No.
Yeah, and understandably. But the thing we came up with was that she was going to have a key fob so she can get in whenever she wants, unannounced. And when we had a babysitter, we'll go down there. But that's going to be our first time having a second residence, whatever. So as time went on, when we clashed, though, I started staying at the condo more. Because I was already like, again, we working a plan. I'm a grind. I'm setting this and up. It's going to be residual by this year. And so it was like maybe like 3 or 4 months of coming home.
So why
we
was
so
always
disconnected.
in the car though?
She would either be asleep by the time I got there, or in the time that I was in the shower, she would jump into bed and go to sleep. She was just, again, this was her way of soothing or whatever, but she didn't really talk, and I was sitting asking whatever. So I'm coming home to a reject. I just stopped coming. Now I wasn't immediately going to go cheat, but I'm like, I would just rather stay at the condo if I instead of coming home and being reminded that I'm despicable. And that lasted about, I would say about 7-8 months before I started back tripping out, before I started back, stepping out and stuff.
So what you did, you said, so the first time towards the end of about December of the first year, and then you cheat, then you come back, confess, and then
no, I didn't confess. So that time
you confessed towards when y'all
after we really fell out. So
in 2020,
yeah. So in that time, in 2019, mid 2019, so I started tripping out. I'm like, this is definitely over. I can't do this. But I remember feeling like one thing they don't really.
First of all, y'all got married what year? 2019?
Beginning of 2018.
Y'all got married beginning of 2018.
January 13th.
So that means the end of 2018. That's when you cheated.
Yeah, for the first time.
And then 2019 came around.
2019, it's like, oh, get back on track. Just, bygones, forget about it. Never happened. And then it was about 7-8 months in where we still was having the same type of clashes. And even though I wasn't doing anything, it's like, man, I can't be around her. I can't, I need my peace.
But it wasn't the same. Was it the same woman that you would go back to, or you went back to your old ways?
Because I didn't want basically old ways. So my whole thing, and it's crazy.
You had sex with the same person over and over again.
It's going to build up something.
It's going to build up something. So you want to make it where it's multiple people, so it's not so meaningful.
Which is wild even thinking about the justifications and exceptions. Like, well, this ain't so bad because I ain't letting them fall in love. It's not a relationship. It's just something physical or whatever. But that's exactly what I was thinking.
That's real.
That's exactly what I was like, man, don't let it go too far with one. And then you had to mix that, like, I ain't saying you got to, but I was mixing that in with, all right, man, stop. Just like, all right, I got it off. I got that off my system.
Let's start back
get back in. And then we'll go a good couple of weeks, maybe a month or two, and we clash again.
What's interesting is that y'all never completed the counseling sessions that y'all have for premarital counseling, and those same issues didn't do nothing but follow you into the marriage.
Absolutely.
And so now we see the clash of the Titans take place in 2020, where she said that she left. And she left, and no notice. You basically come home, your family gone.
Something like that. So what happened was I was like, enough of this cheating stuff. I'm done again. This time I'm going back in. If it don't work, it don't work. This was in like end of December of 2019, actually. I think maybe the January 1st, 2nd, something like that. And I burnt every bridge that I had.
What is looking like burning bridges? What is
burning bridges? Is like, I don't want to continue this any further.
I mean, do you say that to the women?
Yes.
So you have a conversation and say,
I send a text. I was sending a text.
All right, you're sending a text.
Yeah.
Hey, I ain't finna mess around with you no more.
I don't want to mislead you. I don't see this going any further. We're done. Don't expect to hear from me. That kind of thing.
And I'm tapping back into my wife, or do you say?
I wouldn't even say that. I think at that time for those messages, I just was saying like, we're done. But they knew what it was. They knew I was on the outs. We were estranged. We were in different all these things.
Yeah.
So none of them really gave me too much flack about it at that time. But for me, I'm like, I'm dipping in out of giving myself excuses. So sometimes I do, and sometimes I feel guilty. I feel like the hypocrite I was being. I feel like, man, I'm leading people, I'm preaching, and I'm counseling, whatever, but I'm not living it.
Right.
And so I would, the resentment had me feeling like, well, in this situation, it's different because I feel like this. I done rolled out the red carpet. I done been everything she asked me to be and more. And it's been spat on. That's just resentment talking and having you thinking that, oh, it's cool because.
Yeah,
but then,
justified.
But then that truth really hits you at some point when you're talking about it and somebody say something like, I'm glad there are men like you in the world.
And then that conviction
like,
hit.
Honestly, bro, I ain't even that kind of man in the world.
How did it feel? She said one day she called you out, and this was early on before y'all got married. She said, do you even believe the stuff that you say?
Yeah, this was back in North Carolina.
Right.
I felt like I understood what she was saying, but I was like, why is this the first time you referencing my career? Because, okay, I didn't just talk about don't cheat. A lot of my stuff was about, leave thoughtful gifts, write poems, write love letters, let her know how you feel, all these different efforts, sacrifice, breakfast in bed. These are things I all did. And I was like, why is it that stuff is obsolete? And the only thing that exists to you is the time I've now come up short. That's whenever you ask me about this stuff.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, of course, that is an eraser. If I gave you a car, gave you Birkin bags, if I bought you Chanel shoes and all this type of stuff, but I can't be faithful. She's like, I don't give a damn, keep all this nonsense. I want you to, what's free is fidelity.
Yeah.
Give me that.
Absolutely. And at that time, I'm not thinking like that.
Of course.
Boy, men always have it so wrong. Like, just like he's saying the same thing, like he's saying he did all this stuff. He's not, he ain't say she did nothing. You see what I'm saying? You see how people will tell the story to make it look favorable to them? Because I'm trying to figure out, why are you still here then? I mean, thank God he came to his damn senses and filed for divorce. But at the same time, they always want to say, when they go into counseling or when y'all are fussing, all they hear is the negative stuff instead of just digesting what is being said and just simply trying to do better. I mean, I think that's how you resolve conflict. Like, no, we're not talking about the car you bought. We ain't talking about the house you bought. No, you don't supposed to get brownie points for stuff that's called adulting. That's what you do for your partner. That's boy, they just girl, a headache.
Measure myself not just by I eventually was unfaithful. I'm measuring myself by the times that I went to sleep with her in that bed knowing I wasn't going to get none, and she turning over for 3 months.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at it now, understanding. But exactly what you said, sometimes the good ain't worth it, depending on what bad it is.
When did she, and we go back to that, when did she actually tell you that, hey, I had been through this sexual assault early on, a couple of weeks before we met?
This was in Greenville. So I didn't get the full scope for years. I didn't know the timeline. She had just told me first, she told me, okay, it was this person and it was before you that I got raped or what have you. And that was in North Carolina. So that had to be like 5-6 years in. So that was the first time
she said, just said it real quick and just went on about it.
Well, it was kind of like in the middle of some type of conversation, some things we hadn't told each other. She revealed that. And I was like, I don't even know how to handle that. I don't think either of us knew just how much it affected her.
Of course.
Or our sexual relationship. Because every time I think anyway that we was having sex, I think it kind of re-traumatized her.
Yep.
Because especially, not to get graphic, the type of, affection I show and the way I move in that bedroom. And then on top of that, the porn saying, this is intimacy.
Yep.
So I didn't know what she was going through in sex, after sex with me. And because of what she had gone through before. And it was always expressing in different ways. But I mean, it was me trying to piece it together like, oh, this is why I get the type of anger and rage that probably was meant for such and such, but is now coming towards me.
That's real. When did she reveal like the next layer of it? You say she give you a piece here. And then when did it finally hit you like, wow, this is connecting the dots of all this? So
after our the separation in February of 2020, when I woke up and the family was gone, I had been asking about seeing the kids and how could we work that out. And she jetted. We went up and down to whether or not we was going to make the marriage work. We was going to try to anyway. And so one of those efforts later on was with a trauma recovery specialist or something like that. I think she mentioned her before, Dr. Smith.
Yeah, she said she had all kind of counselors and therapists.
Yeah, we went through quite a few, but that was whenever she knew how she had the competence to really deal with that.
Right.
And it was, again, permeating. So, of course, what's gotten sensationalized is my part and all the things that I did, but we were dealing with the twofold issues before there was any infidelity. And part of it was how she showed up in conflict. That's when we went in deep. And then the therapist was steady helping me become an ally to her. Cause I was like, I don't want to traumatize her. Like, this is still a woman I love. I want to make it work and stuff, but how do I help her if I can help her heal? And it meant like certain exercises to get her comfortable with my touch, knowing that I was safe, I was different. So that was it, man. I was saying about the summer, maybe like May of 2020.
Yeah.
To put it all together, it was a couple of months into the separation.
And so when y'all were separated, y'all were still working towards helping the relationship.
Here and there. So, any little argument or whatever could cause her to ghost. There was a couple of times I just, I honestly thought it was over a few times, but I would try to keep in contact with the kids and she might ghost me for a week or two and I can't talk to nobody. But most of that we were up until I would say about May or June. And then that was whenever it was like, we're getting divorce lawyers. She's basically letting me know it's over with. I don't care what you do. And
during that time when she left, did you find that as an opportunity to say, okay, she gone. I don't know what happened to this marriage anyway. Were you like, finna wild out again? I'm single now.
The only time when I started wilding out was when my birthday came in July. Before that, I was just flying up there. I probably
so you tell me during that time she's gone. Now you want to be faithful,
right? So right? No, exactly. Now that she's gone, now I want to prove myself. But the thing was, again, I gave my life to Christ in February.
You're
and
right.
I was trying my best to walk this straight line. This was before she left, before she knew anything. I was in my truck and I had a conversation with God. Like, I got away from you. You know, earlier in my years, I was with you. And now look at how things have turned out. So now I'm walking a separate walk from her. We walk in this thing for marriage, but I'm personally trying to be aligned. You know, I don't,
Right.
clearly I'm not good at this, whatever. So in this time, I'm just whatever it takes to close the gap. If she's not want to talk to me this week or what have you, let me be with the kids because they were begging for me, especially Marley. I would hear Marley crying for me and she would ask me when I'm gonna see you again.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, we all at the mercy of your mama's. I ain't say this,
Yeah.
but I was like thinking to myself, we all at the mercy of your mama's anger with me. You know what I'm saying? So I'm trying to soothe her. I was just trying to be close. That's what I was the whole summer. And if everybody else on pandemic, I'm flying. I probably spent like $20,000, $30,000 just in that time between flights, Airbnbs, and everything else.
She wouldn't let you come stay with, or no, she was with her mom.
She wouldn't even tell me which, and her mom.
She told me her mama told her not to talk to you, not to.
Her mama was so heavily involved
wow. Did you see
in
that?
our marriage, in our restoration. The counselors, the pastors all said, y'all can't make this work if she's involved.
Yeah.
She was in the counseling session with her, like
Did y'all see
Airbnbs
that?
and everything else.
She wouldn't let you come stay with, or no, she was with her mama.
She wouldn't even tell me which, and her mom.
Ooh.
She told me her mama told her
Y'all see that,
not to talk to you, not to.
Her mama was so heavily involved in our marriage, in our
he was
restoration. The
triggered,
counselors, the
y'all.
pastors all said, y'all can't make this work if she's involved.
Yeah.
She was in the counseling session with her, like marriage counseling session with her. And I
Come with
understand.
y'all?
Yes. When we
Really?
came
That
back,
was
well,
the-
one, she was in
the
a session
source of
beforehand. She
your
was in,
trauma.
Danae would have personal sessions with the therapist. And then we got back joint with the same therapist. She said, why is your mother in the same room as your counseling? Do you not have a boundary with your mother? Why is she in there? That was the first time. And then after that, we had, when we was going to reconcile, we came together with our pastor because we had the same pastor and we sat down. Her mom came and sat in on our family restoration session or what have you. I understand to a degree though, because she's seen her daughter go through so much. Any parent, I'm sure myself, it would be like, nah, whatever it takes. I don't care what rules I'm breaking. Don't tell me no Bible verses. I'm here to make sure my baby is good. But she was as much as part of the marriage as me and Danae were, probably even more.
Well, you said she's sitting in the counseling. I've never seen that before.
Yeah,
That's
it was kind of crazy.
Was there any type of abuse that would allow her to want to step? To sit
Not
there?
abuse, man. No physical abuse. You know, if you consider cheating abuse, and yeah, especially emotional, it definitely caused trauma. But nothing where she was like in danger. Her and her mom, this is just my belief, have a weird relationship. It's more like girlfriends because they're only like 15 years apart, 16 years apart. But her mother from day one didn't like me. And I think whenever I hurt Danae, it's like, oh, see, I was right.
Yeah, confirmation.
And so that's an all access pass to stay in the relationship no matter what. My belief was I've done my wrong, but we as adults, we're 30-something years old, we're not children. And we have professionals that are involved.
Right.
We have godly counsel that's involved. And we both professed our lives to be, you know, Jesus. Like, you know, we Jesus our Lord and Savior. So this is we going by this construct now. It's time for mom to get some healthy separation.
Which is leaving and cleaving.
Leaving and cleaving. So love on, you know, I'm talking to Danae because honestly, she's a gatekeeper. But to that point, yes, she was with her mom. Her mom would often speak over her while we were on the phone. All kinds of stuff. And then, you know, that's one of those things that I still got to work on my heart.
Because like I said, when I mentioned that, your whole, I said, is he going to cry or is he going to get mad?
Well, I tried, man, look, I'm not trying to stir up nothing. Because again, I get her mother's
participation. The reason why it was to be protective.
But then, you know, and then I was right, you know, and that's the kind of thing that's going on. But to your point, the entire time we were trying to restore, all the way from February, March. Now we done flew over to churches. There's a lot that's going on.
She said that she gave you some homework assignments. She was like, I want to see you get stronger with you know, build your relationship with God, get some accountability around you, be more present in your kids' life because you know, like most men, they get to working and doing all this type of stuff. That she said she wanted to be more intentional on spending time with your kids. And I think there's one other thing. Are those true? Those three things?
2 or 3. It wasn't to spend time with the kids. And then we kind of had a little back and forth about that because I love spending time with the kids. If they're ever around us, you'll see they gravitate towards me because I love my kids. And that was the whole plan, to get back to where we can both be in. But yes, for a time, I'm gonna be away from the house most of the day. So I had about an hour or 2 per day of quality time that I could do, and on the weekends a little bit more. But what I understood what she was saying, because I want to speak for her, was her saying, I want you to do some of the things with the kids, like wake them up, get them to school,
okay,
pick them up.
The daily task.
And we had a little bit of a beef about that because I'm like, hold on,
you work from home. I mean, I guess she was working, but she was a stay-at-home wife. But then she would help you on some back-end stuff. You saying that's your role? You got the time for it. Let me go hunt. It was a plan, and the plan wasn't just that she be, because that's a hard job. Yeah, you know, 2 young kids, 2 under 2. But I had already invested in a private school, $2,500 a month. So 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. For some 2-year-olds?
Two. At this point, I think one was just turned 3. Mom just turned 3, and DJ was 1.5 going on 2.
You had some little kids in private school?
In private school. It was a little Goddard school down there because it was too young for pre-K. So it was a daycare, but it was a private school. They had a curriculum and everything else.
So they would go there Monday through Friday?
Monday through Friday, 8 hours a day.
What was Danae doing then?
So this was our conversation where we clashed on exactly what all she was doing. Because then we had babysitters. So she had raised some of these issues like, hey, the house is too big to clean. I'm really exhausted with the kids every day. So I already had said, okay, I understand. All I need you to do is tell me. So I made the investment for private school, for the sitter, for the cleaning service to come twice a week. And whenever she had these demands, I'm like, look, I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get it back in your good graces, whatever. But I also want to be reasonable. If I'm working, paying every bill, you don't have to touch anything, whatever. And that includes the fun stuff and investing in the soft life thing. What are you going to be doing? That's what I asked. Because by this time, she's not working with the company anymore, actually. She wasn't working anymore. She had been said, I want to do my own thing. So I was like, whatever you want to do, I'll invest in. I want to support you. So I'm like, you're not working in the business.
So what did she do? She had a clothing shop or something?
Nothing at all at this point. She had talked about real estate and I paid for whatever it took for that, but she didn't really pursue it. I think at this point, she actually started doing the travel thing with her mom. And so, I helped what I could with that.
What travel thing? Is a travel agency?
She had a travel agency with her mom. Her mom and her had their own business, what have you. So yeah, that was our clash. And I'm like, I don't think this is helpful and I don't think this is sustainable because I'm not with this. I'm gonna pay for everything and but then still get up in the morning, get the kids or whatever. I want to spend time with my children, but not take on responsibilities because at the end of the day, we still got work to do. So I forget where we was at with it, but that was what we had. Her list of homework included some things that we didn't necessarily agree on. But I didn't need her to tell me to get closer. I was trying to pursue God at this point for myself. And I think it helped that she saw a lot of that initiative on my own. Because one of the pastors that she watches on TV, and then I ended up popping up.
That's what she said. She said she was watching YouTube or watching something. You popped up down there at the altar in the service or something.
Yeah, I didn't leave him alone. Because
she said you was like, I'm finna start following this minister around. That's what you started doing?
Something to that degree. We developed a rapport. So she didn't mention, I didn't watch the whole thing, by the way, so I could be wrong, but there was a space before we separated where she got really infatuated with demons. And she didn't just say, I need a deliverance either. She said, the Lord God is taking over my vessel. You're going to die, go broke, and all these other things.
She said, you are?
Yes. Now, later on, she said, well, I was speaking to the demonic spirit.
In you?
Yes. And this is an interesting dynamic for anybody with a spouse to talk about you speaking to. So anyway, I started looking into it and I realized, oh no, demonic influence is very real.
Right.
But I don't know nothing about it. I grew up in a very traditional church. We didn't talk too much about that. We understand we don't war against flesh, but of course the spirit and all this stuff. But this goes a different level, like demon spirits, the name of this demon, so on. And there was one pastor, she introduced me to him that knew about this stuff. So I went and found him. And we also had some stuff where she wouldn't let me see the kids because my demon is making them. And I'm like, so why is it everybody else got demons but you? And I would have these conversations like, why everybody else influenced but you? And then we had this fight now where I felt like she asserted herself as my spiritual authority or my superior. She's so pure and angelic and God's first cousin. But then me, I'm just Lucifer's baby boy. I'm getting clarity from this pastor because now I've watched enough of his stuff or whatever.
You trust
met him and he took to me and he was able to tell me some stuff that validated that he was indeed a man of God and whatever. And he took to me and was like, I could see your heart or what have you. And I was like, look, I want to serve you any way I can. I want to be a part of the ministry or what have you. So that's what started when I didn't just follow him. We was talking. He was kind of mentoring me. He became my spiritual father.
And so did anybody else confirm? Was there some deliverance service where maybe that pastor and a couple of other apostles or something linked around you and cast the demon out of you?
They cast, like I did go up there to the front and I got the deliverance and all that stuff, but it wasn't like necessarily what she was saying. It was when we all discussed it together because now he's a friend of the marriage. He wants to help us. And when he was like, Danielle, you may be seeing some stuff like a spirit wife or something like that. Right. Like, that's absolutely true because he's out here smashing and dashing or whatever.
Right.
But some stuff you're getting, you have to be brought up and taught how to interpret it. So Danielle was actually, I think anyway, very well meaning because she wanted to protect her family. At one point in time, she was trying to protect me, praying over me. Before we separated, I had woke up one day and she had her hand on me and she was praying over me. So it was like sometimes it came from this pompous place of, throwing the book at me and judgmental and so on. But at times it came from a very nurturing and protective place. So he confirmed we both needed deliverance. And even because of her mom's involvement, that she needed deliverance right along with us in order for everything to come back together.
And so what happened to where now, what transpired for her to move back from, where was she in Denver? Where was the family?
She was living in Denver. Mm-hmm.
And what made her transition and say, okay, let's, reconnect with my husband and let's try to make this work and move back to Atlanta?
So that pastor had, this was after my birthday and I've been wilding out and stuff. I'm like, it's over with. Honestly, I was so empty, man. And I cut everything off before I even knew if I would have a chance with her. But at this point, I had started rebelling against God because I'm like, God,
July.
This was in July. February 4th, I gave my life to Christ in the truck. And it's like, all right, tomorrow, it was for different reasons. I didn't want to go back home before that, but I was like, tomorrow I'm coming back home and we're going to make this work. We're going to thug this out the God way.
Yeah.
And that's whenever I came back to she was gone. I was like, the day after I gave my life to Christ, things started going here. And I blamed him.
Mm-hmm. I
went through some rebellion all over again, man. Screw this, F it.
Why is he blaming everybody but himself? He blamed Danae in the first interview talking about she rejected him. He blamed his mother because she didn't tuck him in at nighttime when she got a boyfriend. Now He talking about he gave his life over to God and he blamed him. What is going on? I am confused. I know he cannot be serious. What do you mean? It's God's fault. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh, to strike your ass down right now. This is insane.
So anyway, that was the end of July. I was like empty. I'm like, man, I done rented out yachts and I done did all this money spending and these random girls I'm kicking it with. I don't even know them or like them. So just being real, like I don't even like you, like you know what I'm saying. So I was like, man, go on somewhere, man. And before she said anything, I again burnt the bridge. I'm so off and on. But August comes around. I think it was August, and my spiritual father was going to have another event. I had stopped kind of being around him for a little bit while I was in that stage. But I was like, I need to go over there.
So that stage was just the month of July?
I would say June into July.
Okay.
Yeah,
so February, she
July.
leaves February, right? February, give your life to Christ. The next day she leaves, you start trying to get your feet in Christ. You find that once you connect with the spiritual,
I went head first into it, man. I made friends with pastors. Willie Moore Jr. I reached out to him as a man of God, and I was like, man, what group are you a part of? Where y'all stay on the straight and narrow? Yeah. And they didn't know anything about any of this. I was pursuing this. I'm like, I don't want to mess this up again, So anyway, what was the question again?
So you started working towards that,
and then
July, you said what?
Because we were discussing my birthday, and she was like, I'm not seeing you for your birthday, and I was like, abandonment still hurt. I ain't healed nothing to do with abandonment at this point. So I was like, my birthday? I was like, can I at least see my babies? You know what I'm saying? Can I do that? Well, I'm taking them to a church event. I was so beside myself. So anyway, we definitely knew the relationship is over. We got a child custody agreement in place, all this stuff. I had my rendezvous. Then after that, cut everything off. My spiritual father gonna have an event. She happened to be at the event.
Oh, really?
This was actually down here in Dallas. He was gonna have it at the Marriott. He's gonna have like a 3-day event or something like that. I was like, I want another chance with my family, but I don't know. It's just too much. But I brought a picture to put it on the altar and pray and everything else. Her mama came with her and brought the kids. And we had not at this point talked in like 2 weeks.
So it was the first time you seen your wife at church with your kids?
In a minute. Yeah, no, we had seen each other throughout the summer, but this time.
No, I'm talking about, you said for 2 weeks.
It was a couple of weeks. We had discussed me seeing the children because I kept trying to just keep some closeness with them. I went up to Denver to see them. And from that point, she ghosted me. She stopped answering. I was up in Denver for like 5 or 6 days. She wouldn't answer or nothing like that. And like a week and a half later, we was at the church event at the same time.
And you looking up like, wow, there go my wife and kids.
I broke down, really seeing the kids. Because I was like, at this point, I'm wanting another chance, but I'm also understanding. And she's kind of beat me up at this point. So I'm like, whatever on that to a degree, but I really, really miss my babies. So they ran into my knees and I'm like, man, like maybe. And so he had the sermon. Afterwards, he offered to see families that were trying to restore. And that's whenever we had the session. Her mom came in and sat right down with her as we had our family session. And at some point, the pastor said, why is mom here?
And then, so they came visit. You weren't living in the DFW Metroplex at this time?
No. Neither one of us were. But basically, that was the point where we said, we're going to try again. That's whenever, in that conversation.
Did her mom co-sign on that at that time?
She just kept listening and nodding along and stuff like that. So I don't know the conversation with her mom, but I guess she did. I don't know.
And then y'all decided to, let's do it again. And decide to what? Move to Dallas?
First month is I'm going to spend up there because she wasn't ready to part from her mom yet. So I got another Airbnb for 30 days.
Dang.
And then we moved down to Dallas together. And we moved to another Airbnb while we found a place. And we started the restoration. And this is where, honestly, bro, the whole thing, this was like one of the most beautiful things that was happening. I could tell some distance happened with her and her mom because I could always tell whenever she was close. She would come, man, I'm talking about, she get a call, come back, and she hates me. Now some distance. Now we're starting to reconcile. Now we're talking. We're still going through with the therapy. We crying, we expressing, we forgiving on both ends. Because everybody know about my sins, but it was some stuff she, you know what I'm saying? So the kids are seeing it, and this is when I wrote a book, Healed Together While Hurting Each Other, but I wrote it based on all the things we were doing. We had a schedule now. So we went through that process. This is toward the end of 2020, I think. Things ain't perfect, but we fighting for it. We in church together. We serving in church together. We praying most of the time together. We doing warfare, all of it. And then comes 2021.
What happened in 2021?
March of 2021. I think it was the 22nd or 23rd. No. Actually, a little bit before that. A month prior, my auntie passed. It was my mama's only sister. And that was really tough for me because she was always the one that was most proud of me outside of my mom. And 2 weeks later, my dad passed. My stepdad passed. And so we went to, at this point, man, I don't take loss as well. Deaths or nothing. So I'm messed up. And as we were preparing to go there, maybe a week prior, we found out we were pregnant with our third baby. We couldn't even enjoy that because it's so much compounded grief. And she's just like, I got you. I'm here for you, etc. So we go to my dad's wake. And like that evening, there's a girl from the separation time, my birthday time, that's doing an interview. And I'm like, I ain't got time for this. I'm just like, man, I ain't got time for this. I done got beat up fighting for this family. I done got beat up in grief. I done got, the financial piece because I had to work to eat. So I kept payroll and I never kept making money. Because at this point, I'm just all family, all Christian walk. So now my finances are starting to look a little funny. And then this. So that night, we kind of put it away. My dad's funeral, my phone is blowing up. I had to go on airplane mode, all this stuff. And I'm like, I got to face them. I got to face them.
Who was the them?
Them being the people that supported me, the public. Because, of course, I didn't talk about this and and here it is. I knew at some point I would talk about it, but I didn't plan to talk about it until our family was stronger.
I would say that's pretty darn impressive that out of all the dirt you did, it took that long for somebody to say something.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with, this may have been the first time I cut people off the way she wanted me to cut them off, as opposed to really friendly. And
that's what she also said. She said, cut them off and then get a new phone. That was the other
not only, it was get a new phone, get a new place, throw out, a whole lot of stuff.
City, yeah.
$60,000, $70,000 worth of furniture, sculptures, paintings, clothes.
You talking about do what? Get rid of it?
Throw it away.
I wish I knew you.
Don't sell it. Don't give it away.
Gosh, I wish I knew you.
But
what you talking about? You just throw it away. I know you gave it to some people.
It was one or two things I gave away. Because when my family found out I was going to throw away all this expensive stuff and sculptures and stuff, they was like, no, we're coming up there. But most of it, no, I literally had to show her I was cutting through my custom paintings.
She's talking about the spiritual stuff.
She had been hitting me with all of that stuff. But I was
and you really tore that stuff up?
I did.
You talking your clothes and everything?
It was a show of good faith. Because even though I didn't agree with her, but I was like, you've seen enough actions of me trying to do it my way. And it ended us up in this situation. Last thing I'm going to do is still assert myself as the authority on how this needs to make you comfortable. So if she's saying it's triggering her, I was like, I'll give it up.
So your family came and got something?
Some of my family came up there. It was like, nope, we taking this, we taking that. This was actually, in the separation. So she wasn't there. And they were like, nope, they found out some all this stuff, TVs and everything. Man, so we fast forward to 2020, like again, compounded grief. And then I'm like, I want to face them. At first, she was really, really pissed, but supportive still. She was like, we knew this was going to come. I'm 10 toes. You know what I'm saying? I got you, da-da-da. And then we come.
So hold on. So I get that. You really want your marriage to work then, huh? Man. I never would think that. And that's why I said you got to wait. Can't pass judgment on people. I literally assumed that you were stuck in a marriage. You were getting along just to get along, but your heart was really wanting to be in these streets and smash all these women. No. You're saying that what I'm getting from you ain't even saying this, but what I'm getting from you is that, no, I really want the marriage to work. It just so happened that I was doing this stuff behind the scenes when I felt neglected and felt this type of stuff. You really want to be married?
Absolutely. I wanted my family. I wanted to be married, but I wanted us to stay cohesive. That was the biggest thing on my mind. Stay in the house.
So answer this real quick. So be married or want your family? Meaning, would it be okay to have this perfect hybrid of a relationship? Hey, Danae, I have a propensity to smash chicks on the side. Can you be okay with that? I'm gonna give you this soft life, give you this wonderful life you live in. I love my family. I'm gonna be here for my kids. Hey, I love them. I got 3 kids now. This is amazing. But just let me go out here and smash some people from time to time. Would that be the perfect world for you?
No, that'd be hell.
Wow.
Because it was hell when I was doing it behind the back. I wasn't happy. I was coping.
None of this
she actually offered up for me to be with other women. And I think this may have been after she saw something on my phone but hadn't told me. But she said, what if I just allow you to have other women? And I was like, I thought it was an opportunity to talk. I'm like, no, I don't want other women. I want things to work between us. And even as I'm looking back at it, really, bro, it still shouldn't have come to that because I was reacting. We're not doing good, whatever. Instead of being accountable to the principles of the marriage, my vows, I was accountable to how I felt. And that was, again, a part of this long pattern of I'll be good so long as I feel good about you and how we doing. But the moment I don't feel good, screw it.
So you tell me a perfect situation for you, getting remarried again, is a woman that says, I believe a man, because I've had women come to me before. Women have come to me over the last couple of years. And when I've spoken about infidelity in the past, I have women come to me and be like, because it's not normal for a man to be faithful. So let me tell you something, Terrence, if you choose me as your wife, you can go smash women on the side. It don't matter. That don't bother me. As long as you taking care of the household, as long as you don't let that mess come to my doorstep, I'm cool with it. But the reason why I personally can't do that is because I think you're speaking to I know you're speaking to the lowest version of me. That because of my faith and my relationship with Christ, I can't operate like that. But then a lot of times men will say, well, look at the men in the Bible or whatever. I understand that. We're not in that time. I know they had multiple wives. They had all this type of stuff. That's when people argue polyamory and polygamous. But I was like, that's not me. I know, like you're about to say, what you touched on, what that did to my soul. It grieves my soul. So my question to you is, why couldn't you just do that with your next wife if you decide to get married again?
The variety of vagina never pulled me. It wasn't like it was more so physical. It was emotional. I was soothing whenever I slept around. I had went basically like this. Okay, so when the times where I was faithful, like I might spend 6 months here, 8 months here, whatever, 3 months. When I was happy, I curved girls that most guys would do anything to get next to. But it was when I was unhappy for an extended amount of time, I would at least open the door to have conversations and start there. And then it would go all the way there. A perfect world for me, man, because I don't mind the same vagina over and over again. When I'm in love, it feels new to me every single time. I was fine physically, and I mean, this is why we stay connected in that way. There wasn't a complaint there,
Right.
and I want to be respectful to her as a woman because she's not my person anymore, and I'm somebody else's wife eventually. But that wasn't my complaint. My complaint was how cold it felt, and honestly, I used to say it. I felt more lonely and single than when I was single. In a relationship, just that rejection, that was just a way that she coped and did her own thing. But that was the part I really wanted. In a perfect world, I didn't feel that. Now, in a realistic world, as a man, I should have had better coping strategies as opposed to coping with women or anything that was going to compromise my vows. I should have been equipped and prepared more to deal with that or to leave if I was just so unhappy. But I didn't take that responsibility.
How are you reconciling that, being the voice for caring for a woman's heart, but then privately destroying the woman you had at home?
Resentment. That was the denial I needed. It was like you would do anything and feel like you right in doing it if you feel hurt enough, pissed off enough, disrespected, or taken for granted enough. These are a lot of the things that I was saying to her, like, man, you taking me for granted. And nothing to do with nothing physical or superficial. It was like how much I'm sacrificing for you, da-da-da-da. But one thing I didn't understand, man, is she wasn't experiencing that. It was like, it's kind of like if you ever been down on yourself, like, man, life is so bad because you got into it with whoever. But then you got to really think like, no, man, my kids is good. My roof is over my head. I got blood in I'm alive. So it's like objectively some things are true, but you're not experiencing it based on what you focused on. And what I didn't learn until way later was that she never experienced all of these things that was on my mind that I was personalizing that she didn't appreciate. So in a perfect world, man, like it's just one woman. That's what I want. In the last couple of years of the marriage, that's what I stuck to, no matter how I felt. And I know and apparently the world feels differently. So you saying, right, when you say the last years, we'll get to there. So you get this lady, she does this interview. What did she say in this interview? I didn't watch that interview either.
How could you not watch a video of somebody talking about you and everybody?
I was broke down, brother. I was at my limit. I had just lost two very important people in my life. I already had jacked up my family. We were trying to get it back together. I got a baby on the way. The finances is tricky because I can't even work consistently. Danae at that time, like she was still healing a lot. So I had become the primary parent for the elder children. They went to the gym with me. I did get them up and brush their teeth and put them to bed and all these different things, taught them and resolve conflict. And so there's so much pressure on me just as a man. And then throughout that process, because I was the wrongdoer, all of my feelings were obsolete. And now it was okay. Like, screw how you feel.
Yeah.
You hurt her. And so I felt, even more invisible. This goes back to the first counseling session we did, feeling invisible, to childhood. It's like, man, I'm repetitively feeling alone. So as we coming back, and I know they done did, I was like, I can't think straight. We get back, and I know I'm gonna face my audience instead of, being more cowardly than I already had been. Because no matter what, I want to walk according to what I think is the right thing to do. I faced them that night, but I only talked to what I did in the separation. I didn't tell them I had cheated in the marriage as well. So I was like, again, I want to do this. I want to do this again. And I offered for her to have a voice if she wanted to. Part of our counseling was her having a voice. She wanted more of a voice. She said, yeah. And then that's when we did the video.
In the video, how do you feel about how she represented herself in that video? Well, because you remember you're the face of this brand, to have her on there when now she's been attacked from the bonnet, which was something very intentional that I was when she came on the podcast. I said, Danae, listen, the last time, I understand how triggering these moments are. I said, so I'm gonna get a makeup artist. I'm gonna get somebody to make sure you look right. I don't want nobody criticizing you on my platform. Why didn't you give her that same level of care to make sure that when she represented herself, she was representing the best light? I
didn't look at her and felt like she needed makeup. I didn't feel like that was the missing piece in her being presentable or beautiful. I still, honestly, bro, I don't look at that video of what she had on and see anything wrong. The only thing I can see now from the outside is her body language. And I knew what that was because of, but people in real life didn't know. Both of us were shattered. I'm a bit more poised probably in front of the camera. And also I'm more functional. Like even when I'm not okay, I look okay. But she was showing it, right? But for different reasons.
She was pregnant at the time. No one knew she was pregnant at the time.
She was pregnant, and she was somewhat grieving because she knew of my stepdad as well. So we're both coming from some really heavy stuff on top of her being pregnant, on top of this being a season of attempted reconciliation. And so we show up, and that way I didn't really, again, it didn't stick out to me because this ain't my first time seeing her. Just, again, I think she's beautiful. And I appreciate what you did and making sure that she was protected. But I know afterwards, when we thought about doing some more conversations, I was like, oh, let's get PR. So our body language ain't the same because I don't want them to talk about you. We did a podcast for a little bit and I was like, I don't want them to talk about you. And I started looking at it from their lens. But at the time, man, I don't think she was thinking about herself. And me, I think I was so selfish in my own feelings. I wasn't thinking about her either.
How did you feel when the video dropped and people kept talking about her bonnet and they kept saying, I see why he cheated on her. I see why. And they started making the quote unquote victim. That's all we knew. We didn't know about what she was doing in a relationship. So now she's this victim and now they're victim blaming. She's the reason why her man is unhappy. She's the reason why he's unfaithful because look at how she presents herself. Of course, he's going to want one of these baddies that you see on Instagram. How did you feel seeing that?
First, I don't even know where to start. I put her in that position. So as much as I was looking at it and not liking this and that, I was like, my decisions. It's another reminder that my decisions put her in this place. Secondly, I think I just felt helpless because typically I'm the one that like stands for people who get crucified wrongly, and especially women, but really anybody. I've stood for men too, but like here, I'm obsolete because I'm the one that caused it. Thirdly, there is no connection to a woman's looks and a man's integrity. One way or the other. She can't look good enough to make me a no man faithful.
Teach.
And she can't look bad enough to make us step out.
Teach.
So just in terms of what they were saying, I was like, that's bullshit. Like the most beautiful by society standards women have gotten cheated on.
Yep.
Because it's not about her looks or her makeup. It's about my character.
Thank you.
Or lack thereof. So again, it sucked not being able to say that and stand for that. And I was appreciative of those who did because they were doing what I couldn't do. And so it was really like, I mean, the shame that was already there, the guilt and all this other stuff. And then you add in the ripple effect of now family is getting involved. Her mother is, I mean, you talking about might as well moved in. It was so much that went on. I just like totally now I'm obsolete and I'm moving myself and I'm fine with that because I need to make sure she's okay to healthily carry this baby because she's pregnant still. We still got to go to these doctor's appointments. Yep. She's still got to keep an appetite. Me, I've been in the middle of scrutiny and I was fine with that. Like, man, talk about me. One, I deserve it. Two, I'm kind of used to it.
But I'm used to it on that level though. Even on that, because people love Derrick Jaxn. It's a lot of men that didn't like you, but women love you. Look at your social media following. I mean, when did you ever have 1 million people following you? That's a lot of people. That even when the video came out, I would hear people say, "I don't care what he did to his wife. I still find value in what he's saying because he helped me through this and he helped me through this and his video helped me get out this toxic relationship." So no matter how much the world crashed down on you by that, you still had, and I still say the overwhelming majority of people are women that still was advocating for you.
I feel a little differently, man. I think not only advocating for me, I think they were advocating for what I stood for and that it didn't just wash that away. What I've gotten from them anyway, because I had people that turned on me and I totally understand. But the people that in real life or even online, they were like, that doesn't take away from your truth. But for me, again, I had rumors go viral about me before. People just don't remember because I wasn't as big, but I've seen tens of thousands of people unfollow me before because they thought the nail was white and I didn't date black women. So I already kind of knew, but I also think I just was too numb to that. Now, this is the first time that scrutiny is coming to somebody I love, somebody close to me because of me.
Right. So
that was my whole attention with this is a new experience for me in that regard, that she's not built like that.
Right.
You know, she ain't used to this and she wasn't supposed to ever have to get used to it. So what was going on in my mind is just the lowest feeling you could probably imagine. Even with trying to tune out social media and everything else, her coworkers, her mama, her whatever, had to see her relive this trauma. And people making talking points because people kind of forget we both human. Yeah. You know, and they could forget I'm human, but I'm like this girl that y'all go from protect black women to, ooh, look at her bonnet.
That point.
And music videos and stuff like, I mean, it's so insensitive. I'm wishing I could say something, but I'm still the cause of it all. So it's guilt, shame, helplessness, fury, anger. Some people that I thought were at least somewhat friends making jokes about it. And it gave me a perspective, man, of like on some level, my platform had probably done the same thing. You know, when I talked about people and, you know, especially holding them accountable, I always thought I did it with a level of ethics. And, you know, I'm trying to at least be constructive here. But ultimately, I was making a lot of people's wives relive their own trauma. And if anybody's listening, you know, I was wrong for that. I want whoever I've ever talked about to understand that that was wrong of me. But that gave me a perspective I never had before because I saw her trying to shut it out, but her phone blowing up. Yeah. You know, friends and stuff is concerned. Is she okay? And understandably, but it was overwhelming.
When you look at what made you record the video, I know you said some of your followers sent the video to you about analyzing yourself, which I thought that was, when you look at that and you hear somebody talking in third person about themselves, they consider that textbook narcissism. Mm-hmm. What in the world would possess you to do a reaction video to yourself?
Horrible decision making.
I was like, why would you do that?
Horrible thought process. So for me, whatever I'm going through, my MO has been to just work through it, get up and go do something. But at that point, I'm the biggest conversation. And I was like, this is not something I stand by. But I was like, how am I going to talk about everybody else, but I want to talk about me? Dumbest decision. Because out of 800 videos, the one that I do in third person is the one that confirms I'm a narcissist.
You're a textbook narcissist.
Textbook narcissist is third person. And we all have a PhD in narcissism from Instagram.
Yeah, we all got it from Instagram, YouTube.
So I was like, well, that didn't go as planned. And I took
and then on top of that, Derrick, at the very end, what do? Promote a product.
I probably did.
He was like, and I have this book that I had come. I said, this N-word.
Right, the show must go on.
This N-word just sat there and did. What is wrong with this?
The most detached, not reading the room moment probably in my life. Mm-hmm.
And so what kind of pushback did you get from that?
Just the same. It was for me, and again, it's not trying to be arrogant. It's just like for whatever's coming my way, I know how to, for the most part, block it out. My whole career has been about, being able to ignore naysayers. This time it was legit though. It's something I really did. I really disappointed people that believed in me. But regardless, so much was going on in my life. I couldn't access how I felt about that.
Yeah. And then you're also still processing the loss of your the father that you knew. That's your father. Call him stepfather, whatever. But he's been there all the time. That's
the only father that I knew.
Yep.
And my family's still processing it. My cousin got shot in the head about a month or two after that. It was like in I was saying about 3 months we had 4 deaths in the family. My uncle had died while I was at my auntie's funeral. I know it sounds like this don't even make no sense. While we was at her funeral, my uncle had died. Now we ain't really like him that much. So my mom gonna I'm sorry, but I ain't like him that much. So that one was a little less impactful, just knowing that you supporting your family who cared about him.
Yeah.
But the other 3 were really tough. But it's like, man, I can't be a victim, and my children need me. I can't fold. I put everybody in this situation, and I wanted to fold. I had the gun on my lap. I wanted to fold. I wanted to be out.
You contemplated suicide?
I was on my way to pulling that trigger. But Marley came out. They were getting ready to go somewhere. Marley saw my tail lights on and said, "Ooh, Daddy's here. Daddy's here." Because I was out of the house for a while, and she came and jumped up on the door right at that moment.
I know he did not say he was about to delete himself in his driveway where his children could have found him. I know I did not just hear that. I am so, y'all. I'm sorry to be yelling. Oh my God, let me turn it. Oh my God, I cannot believe he said he was about to do that. That would have been so selfish, so traumatizing to your children. I cannot believe I just heard that, y'all. I am floored. I don't even know what to say. That goes to show you the level of narcissism that he has, that he didn't even give a thought to his children finding him and what that could do to them. That is insane to me. Shit, now I need a goddamn drink. Oh my God. Y'all, that triggered me so bad. You would think I dealt with that. I've dealt with feelings of that, but never experienced it, never had to do anything with a family member, nothing like that. We never had that situation in my family, but that sounds horrible. Horrible. That's selfish. I cannot thinking of himself. Oh my God. And he talking about, I love my kids. Do you? That is disgusting, sir. I mean, I understand those feelings and stuff like that, but hey, maybe you should have kept that to yourself, baby. That's ugly. That's really, really ugly. So I'm sorry, y'all. I'm gonna get back to it.
Was in a car?
Yeah, I was in my truck. I was just doing it in my truck.
In the driveway? In the garage or something?
No, it was in the driveway, in a little cul-de-sac. So after that, I was, kind of scared about how close I got to it. And I'm not telling nobody because of the shame of I did this and whatever. And I don't have no voice because I'm the bad guy. I'm the big bad wolf in everybody's eyes now. The resentment in the house is tenfold. I can't say enough about it. But one thing we had talked about was that I don't typically let nobody into my internal struggle. And I needed to do that. So I talked to Danae about it. Now, we're not in a good place here again. And I talked to her about it, and she kind of stonewalled a little bit, just didn't have much to say. But that's when a little bit after that, I decided I couldn't do the marriage anymore. This was in 2021 because she was laughing about it with her mom.
That she was going to commit suicide?
She was laughing about it with her mom. I got wind of the conversation. This is after some texts I saw. She was still talking to her mom about the marriage. She waiting on me like, who can't forgive after all the forgiveness I needed, you know? But this one where I was like, not that she's so bad, you know, in this moment, but it just made it clear how far away from me her heart has turned.
Did you divorce her? Did you say you wanted to divorce by text?
Yeah. At that time, and anytime we tried to talk, especially if it involved her mama, she either ended up yelling or she stonewalled, like blank face until I got done talking and had nothing to say. During the therapy, she witnessed that about her mom yelling at a man, whatever. I never.
Unfortunately, when you're dealing with narcissism and you have to disconnect. So that stonewalling that he is talking about, that is a defense mechanism. It's one of those things like what is it called? Detaching and just kind of being unbothered, or because I mean, I'm telling you, a narcissist will literally drive you fucking insane if you let them. So what y'all, I'm sorry, this thing has triggered me so damn bad. Oh my god. Right, yeah, it's called gray rocking, stonewalling, and all that stuff, how you have to kind of like pull your feelings back and stuff like that. Child, he done triggered me, y'all. I can't get myself together. They need some help for real. They definitely both need help. And, you know, they come in here and they're speaking their truth, but there is so much work to do. Just like Zia said, like a broken clock, you can be right twice a day. He does say things that are very, very, very right, but it's another thing. I feel like there's no self-reflection. You have to look inside and you have to be okay with the shadow, the bad part that you see. Everybody has character flaws. Nobody is perfect, but you see how he tried to villainize himself in the story, and that's somewhat of like a defense mechanism as well. But if you keep on doing that, you're going to stay in a sense of victimhood where, you know, he keeps saying he took accountability, but there's no accountability there. Clearly, because he still sees himself as the victim. You know, I'm gonna just let it play because I just gotta calm down from this man, child.
Did, but I didn't do well with no yelling. So I knew this is to do with her mom, and I told her, hey, not only do I can't do this anymore, but this unresolved issue with your mom is the reason why. I don't know if she mentioned that or not, but a lot of people don't know. It had nothing to do with infidelity as far as why I decided I needed to leave. It was because we had talked about restoring the marriage, but the pastors, counselors, over and over again, we catching that she had talked to her mom or brought her mom into the marriage, and her mama was very intent on staying in the marriage, giving play-by-plays of how to disrespect me, you know, or whatever. At this point, it was like, I already done checked out. I've been in the guest room over a year. But if we're going to give this a chance, you got to just set the boundary with your mom. You know, I ain't going to put words in your mouth. So I told her, but just let her know you love her, you appreciate her support, but you're committing to this and you need her love to look different. And she kept saying, well, I'll get to it, or not yet, and I'm not ready. And over a year of that, I was like, I got to go.
And so you sent her a text message. You was upstairs and she was downstairs on the couch.
Yep.
And at that point, that was in what year? 2021?
This is 2022 now. I skipped a whole lot, but 2022 now.
2022, you send that. When you said, hey, I'm about to divorce said woman, divorce your wife, how soon did you start entertaining the woman that we see you booed up with on social media?
Booed up.
Yeah.
Pinky.
What's her name? Okay.
I didn't know Pinky until about 2 months after.
2 months after?
Yeah, I didn't entertain anybody. Until I had filed and moved out, I didn't entertain a single woman. I know people think that I did because they saw the picture simultaneously with my announcement to be out. But because, again, I'm private, I didn't want to even announce the divorce. I didn't see any use in it. I'm like, why bring people in after all this already been caused? But then when I went down to Miami, I had been moved out now, and she had already did the video praying against folks, you know, that kind of thing. I was like, I've been in, so this is me and my experience, not saying she was bad or whatever, but for me, that was a living hell. Being rejected to that degree, being reminded of all the wrong I've done to that degree. Over a year in the guest room. But even though I did a lot of healing in that time, it was tough to feel so disgusting to a person that you still care about. And so whenever I got out of the house, I was like, I need to be surrounded by friends, family, and love. So other friends and family down there in Miami, but the young lady was going to be there as well. And yeah, man, we just enjoyed Art Basel, and that's people taking pictures. And honestly, I didn't care because I was like, y'all don't know my life. You know, I don't want to live under the shadow of what people could think, even though looking at it is kind of careless.
Yeah, you like, I'm with a whole woman. At least make an announcement.
At least in the public eye.
Yeah,
for sure.
make an announcement. Me and my wife respect our privacy. We have decided to dissolve our marriage. And then whatever they see you at that point on,
yeah,
it is what it is.
At that point, it was, again, this ain't no excuse, man. I'm just living and learning in real time.
Of course.
There's some grief there with the kids because we also getting ready to go into Christmas, the first one without the children. And then also actually divorcing is still painful. Even if you grew apart, you don't love the person no more romantically.
No matter how you look at it, it's a death.
It's been over a year since I started that detachment, but I still was feeling some of it. But ultimately, I was trying to be rebuilt up. I didn't went around feeling like the world's greatest big bad wolf. I wanted to be around people that loved me and cared about me. And yes, some of that included feminine energy that just at least liked me as a human.
Right.
You know, it's not even about sex. It's like, man, do you even smile whenever you look at me? You know, I've been coming into rolled eyes, and you know, somebody walking when she hear me coming in, she walk understandably. By the way, let me say that.
Right. There's a lot of built-in failure, a lot of mismanagement of our heart, mismanagement of all that, and then
disappointment, trauma, reiterating the trauma, and you know, so many different things going on. Probably some stuff apart from me that ain't got nothing to do with me as well. So I understand it, but two things can be true. I understand it, and it was effed up. It was messing me up.
No, who wants to sit in that? That's why most people get divorced. That's why most people say, I'd rather just start over fresh. I'm going to take these lessons I've learned, and then I'm going to try to do better in the next marriage. But this right here just ain't working.
My mentor told me, though, man, you got that for 5 to 7 years. He was helping coach me through it. I had prepped my mind to be able to endure that. It just was still tough. The reason I actually got a divorce was because I'm like, she's not able to do what needs to be done with her mom. And when she treats me a certain way, there's another person involved that gets treated a certain way because there's another person that is connected to how she feels about it.
That's a puppeteer that's pulling the strings.
To a degree. No, not that. There's another person that, okay, I don't know how to say this, but I don't want this to be taken the wrong way. So our eldest daughter, she may have spoken on this, is darker than the other two.
Oh yeah, she said that. She said she didn't used to like that. She said she didn't like that daughter. She had a lot of resentment towards that daughter.
So me, like in the house as an infant, as a toddler, because she's saying it, and I don't think you might not understand like this.
What it looked like in real time.
In real life, these are experiences.
I can imagine what it looked like.
So me, I could often intervene or kind of settle things out because I know that she loves that girl. I know that she loves her children. But it was affecting their relationship and how she treated her, or how harsh she was, or how she talked to her.
And I got that from what she's saying. She's saying that when somebody says that they don't like their child because the dark skin of this child reminds them of the type of women that you preferred, then
it's a different level. And I didn't understand it, but again, with Grace, it's just like, you know, even she's saying she's trying to work against it. So, all right, you know, family business, we're going to work through this. But I'm the one that saw the 2-year-old go for affection to their mommy and get turned away while the other two light skin, or the other one light skin at the time, child gets all the love and affection, and the dark skin child to see that. I'm the one that hears our dark skin child say things reflective of how she feels mommy feels about her. So as everything was in a stagnation or regressing, it wasn't just me getting pushed away or treated a certain way.
Yeah.
And again, I really hope people just approach this with compassion, because I don't think any of us manage all of our emotions perfectly.
Of course not.
And she's done a ton of sacrificing for every one of those kids. And I just need to say that because she's not a bad mom.
Right.
But I said, the longer that I stay in this space, knowing that she's not going to do what I need her to do, and therefore that stunts her healing, our reconnection, the longer she's getting put through that, the longer the kids are getting modeled, the disconnection, the resentment and tension remaining. I don't know if she was talking to her mom at that point, but without her making that stance and saying, we committed over here, we were not moving forward. So anytime she got triggered, anytime I picked whatever, it was two people receiving the brunt of that. And somebody had to draw a line and say no more.
I can respect that. Because what you did is give more context behind what she even admitted. And I believe that what you said, she will never deny. She'll say, yep, that was.
But yeah, man. But with all of that, because one thing I noticed, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, is that sometimes she dealt with shame of feeling like she wasn't perfect. She cried about sometimes how she dealt with our daughter. She had a lot of insecurities as a woman, but also as a mother. And so I hope that she knows that it doesn't take away from her love for the kids, her sacrifices for the kids, the things even now I don't see, because we've been co-parents now almost a year. So there's many things she has to take on now that we maybe used to split that's just strictly on her, and including our third child. You know, so for anybody, any mom out there that resents their kids for any reason, there's some people that just mad they became parents.
Yep.
You know, it became such a burden. And there's mothers and fathers that deal with that guilt of knowing they don't feel as happy about something that, you know what I'm saying, the kid is involved, but they can't talk to nobody. And what I'm saying is, you know, is it don't take away from that. And her love is still genuine, and she's still a good woman.
That's good. I'm glad you said that, which goes back to this Mother's Day post that you made.
Mm-hmm.
What made you do that? And I believe that while it's good intentions, for whatever reason, people didn't receive it as such. when you look back, hindsight being 2020, why you believe that wasn't received well?
Well, Shade Room didn't receive it well, and the blogs didn't, but people on my page did. However, I caught wind that she wasn't happy with it. That was my 3rd year post on Mother's Day. For me, and I'm not saying it's the right decision, but the romantic relationship is completely separate from the co-parenting relationship.
True.
So I honored her in real life before Mother's Day about her being a mom. I would send her text to say, thank you for taking on that, especially if the kids went to urgent care or something. Thank you for being the one to take care of that. Thank you for being there, taking off whatever you might be doing for work. So in real life, I honored her. And actually, her mom was there. I brought her flowers. I had the kids pick something up.
The day before, she told me that.
Yeah, that was a regular thing, though. As co-parents, I'm like, we may have, our chapters closed romantically, but we still are teammates when it comes to them.
She said the reason why it was kind of backhanded compliment is because you blocked her on social media. So how can you block somebody but then make a message or an affirmation post without them, quote unquote, seeing it?
So I had to block her because before y'all interview, she was throwing around our picture online. She was in her story. She had a whole webinar called the Cheating Husband Stories. I was like, when I saw that you had titled it Breaks Her Silence, I was like, broke what? It was already broken because she had been. But for me, I wanted to allow her, she wanted to express or tell her story that I don't deserve a space to speak on what's valid and what's not. And so I was kind of letting her do a thing, but I can only handle so much. If she's doing all of this, people are sending. So I blocked her. Like, I can't handle that. And I don't want to start retaliating or, whatever, speaking as well. So I didn't say anything about her at all outside of Happy Mother's Day. But I honored her in real life. I honored her out loud online the same way I had 2 years prior because it was separate. And I meant everything I said in there about her being a great mom. But yeah, I had blocked it and I unblocked it because I was trying to tag her, but her settings won't let me tag her. But yeah, that was it. And I took it down when, she's not comfortable with that. Fine, no big deal.
Yeah, and be honest with you, I wasn't following her around to know what she was saying about you. And in all sincerity, like which I told her, which I do a pre-interview, I questioned her mental stability. So I didn't want to bring on the podcast and explore it. I was like, something is off with her. So then when people kept saying, you need to talk to her, then I talked to her on the phone and I was like, oh, she's really cool. She's really cool. All right, well, come on. Because if she was dealing with any type of mental illness and that type of stuff, I didn't want to exploit that.
Yeah.
And so when I was talking to her, I was like, oh, she's funny. She cracking jokes. Because even when she would talk about the infidelity, she'll be joking about it, which made me feel like she was so far removed that she was healed from it. Because I was saying, you can laugh about something. And she was like, yeah, they were passing the hallway. Yeah, I was one of the girls. So I like it when people get to the place where they can laugh at some of their dumb decisions and be able to acknowledge what was right, what was wrong, and talk about her own faults in it or whatnot. And so that's what made me say, all right, come on, Dear Future Wifey Podcast and have this conversation.
Yeah, she ain't crazy. She's different. And she's like an awkward Black girl.
Yeah.
And then also, I hope everybody understands she's been, and I had to understand this myself, she's been brought to some limits that, I wouldn't wish
most people would
fold somehow.
Yep.
So there's no blueprint on how to handle this. When she first met me, I was a college football player and I loved to write poetry, but that was it. And now I've become this kind of sort of household name, especially in the Black community. Her friends, family, coworkers, cousins, have posted about me and wanted to, like, she's gotten kind of thrust into something I don't know if either of us knew was going to happen.
Right.
Nor do I think she really would have signed up for. So no, there's no blueprint in how she's handling everything. There are certain things she's done I still think is kind of crazy. Just keeping it G with you. Whenever she said God took over her body and told the demon in me that I was going to die and go broke, I was like, that is bizarre. I'm not safe here. But the girl ain't crazy.
What do you think about when she made the post that you was talking about people who speak negative about you, that God was going to kill their kids and everything else?
I was confused because she wouldn't talk to me still.
Because she was acting like y'all was Team Jackson.
We was not Team Jackson, and I was like, huh? Like, because anytime trying to just have a cordial conversation, she wasn't interested. I was like, okay, well, this is her boundary. Now that I've, moved out the house or whatever. But then when I saw that, I was like, you would think we were still married, and she got my back or whatever. And how I've kind of made sense of it now is maybe it was just kind of a little bit of both. Maybe it is, I don't rock with you or whatever, but maybe she was treating it as because we're legally still married, or maybe she had some hope or something like that. She's not going to just cover me in prayer. She's going to cover herself in prayer, but me as well. And that's warfare prayer, man. Like, I understood it. And that's light compared to what I've gotten in real life. That was PG. That was safe. That was Barney.
Well, it offended a whole lot of people because he was talking about killing their kids and God's going to do it. So I said, I know God loves you. When I looked at it, when I saw it, I was like, I know God loves you, Danae, and God loves Derrick. And y'all, all his kids, but I promise you, if he didn't just start killing people for killing his own son, he sure ain't gonna kill him for talking bad about you and Derrick.
But she learning, man. She, you want a war in the spirit.
Yeah.
You want to speak against those things that are trying to operate against God's plan for your life. But I think that, like, she's just still sharpening that. But
right.
she meant well. That's all.
And so, y'all still going through a divorce now? Is the divorce final?
No, we moving along as fast as we can, but it's still a process. And no, so legally we are still married.
And you decided to get married again.
Absolutely.
Why?
Because I don't think your past has to dictate your future. I don't think just because you failed at something, maybe you were the one that sabotaged and injected up like me, or maybe you just you got done wrong and you endured it. But I don't think we have to look at how things went in the past at any point and say, never again will we ever have a chance. I still value marriage. I still value family. I understand some things now I didn't before. Not only understand, I prepared differently, and I'm preparing going into it again. But when the time comes, I ain't in no hurry.
Right.
But I want to make sure when God aligns my person, she gets the best of me, and we don't repeat the same issues as the past.
When you do you look at yourself as being single now, even though you're legally married?
Yeah.
And so you move like a single man.
To a large degree, I'm moving like a single man who's focused on his children and his healing and personal growth. So, I may spend time with people I wouldn't normally spend if I was in a marriage, but I'm not developing anything towards nothing. I got my focus really on my kids because, again, we've been co-parents for the last almost year, and it's them who didn't choose to be a part of any of this.
Anything you want to leave the audience with? What would you like to say? What's on the heart of Derrick Jaxn? And what would you like to say? Whether it's to, matter of fact, I don't even want you speaking to the women. I want you to speak to the brothers that may be in the same situation as you been in, feel like, they've tried, they've mismanaged their marriage, cheated, whatever. What would you say to those brothers that, as they always say, well, he can't tell me nothing, when we've been in them shoes before?
First off, you're not alone. You're not alone in how you cope. You're not alone in what you struggle in. You're not alone in that guilt and shame. You're not alone in feeling unheard and unseen and like you don't matter. You're not alone in feeling like, you're just about behavior. Everybody wants you to do right. No, nobody care if you're okay. You're not alone in feeling like, your woman can use her intuition to see if you're cheating, but she ain't using that same intuition to see if you're at peace and if you're happy. There are other men who feel the same way. I felt the same way. And let me also say, it's not always somebody else's fault. I don't even believe in relationship problems as much as I used to. I believe we have internal problems that we bring into a relationship. So for everything that you're feeling, even though you're not alone, your wife, your girl, she ain't the enemy either. She ain't the cause either. And if you're like me and you're reactive, you're apart from your masculine role. We're supposed to be the standard. Femininity is supposed to be the responsive agent. So what that means is, instead of getting in a relationship thinking, like me, I'm speaking from where I feel like I really dropped the ball, so hopefully you don't. Instead of feeling like, well, as long as she do me right and pour into my cup and so on and so forth, I'm going to do right, that's a recipe for disaster, man. Of course, you don't want to do a good woman wrong, but it should be about you being a good man to your standards, your principles, regardless of that woman's behavior. And if she's not good enough to do right by, probably best to go ahead and let it go. That's not me preaching. That's me hopefully trying to reach somebody, who still has a family, and you have the opportunity to keep that intact, or you have the opportunity to keep it from suffering such humiliation and such damage before, it eventually fizzles out. And honestly, I will speak to women as well as men. No matter what decisions you've made, if you've been the villain like me or the victim like I have at times as well, don't let that define your ambition going forward. You may have messed up, but you have value to offer this world, and you got value to offer somebody in love. So maybe you was a part of a pattern like me and you stepped out, and that's the big sin. But maybe you had a pattern of sabotage. Maybe you had a pattern of overreacting, never trusting, closing down. Whatever your pattern is, it doesn't have to be your future. And that's for any woman that done chose the wrong man over and over again, endured the wrong thing over and over again, or any man that's endured the wrong thing over and over again, or chose wrong, etc.
That's my advice. Cut your damn
Derrick, something? Giftings are given without repentance. But I'm telling you got a gift for this thing. You really do. You have a gift, and I'm just listening to you. And the reason why, and I text you when I did the episode with Danae, and I said, hey, listen, this episode's going to drop. I'm going to keep you lifted up in prayer. Because the thing that, I'm trying not to get emotional. The worst thing that I want to be is the catalyst that sends another person, a brother, a human being over the edge. And so I'm sensitive to the giftings, the platform that God has given me. And so I'm sensitive to the fact that even though this brother, because the thing about it, and I'll level with you, if I had a platform when I was at my worst point, when I was married, probably would have looked at like people looked at you. It just so happened that I didn't have the platform when I was cheating on my wife. Now, of course, I could say, well, I wasn't also over here giving relationship advice or whatever. But I'm saying, if my worst day was televised, how would people look at me? If our worst day is publicized, how would people look at said individual? And so I offer people the same grace that I know that God extends to me. And so I text you that day and I said, listen, brother, I want you to get your healing. I want your family to be healed. I want your family to be restored. And I want you to know that I'm praying for you and I love you. Because at the end of the day, you still my doggone brother, no matter what. And then when I found out that you're a brother in Christ, you really my brother. And so what I say to you, King, is that I'm standing 10 toes down. I want to see your family healed, restored. I want to see y'all have the best co-parenting relationship ever. I want y'all to be able to go to lunch together and dinner together. And people are like, are they back together? Like, no, it's what healthy looks like. Yeah. This is what healthy looks like. Yeah. And instead of passing on generational curses, I want us to pass on generational healing. So I want that for you and Danae. I pray that God continues to heal those beautiful kings and queens that y'all raising up so that they could see a healthy relationship, see what healthy co-parenting looks like.
Absolutely.
And that's what I want for y'all. That's what I'm praying for y'all. Matter of fact, I'll just end in prayer. Heavenly Father, I lift up the Jacksons before you right now in the name of Jesus. Lord, I thank you for my brother coming on this platform and bearing his heart, bearing his soul, showing up 10 toes down, and for him to even name the episode, You Reap What You Sow. He has been totally transparent and honest about how he's been showing up and the lack thereof. And God, I hope this episode touches the hearts and the minds of the people that witness it, those that are coming just to see some sensationalize a story, to be able to pick out sound bites to attack your people. God, I ask that you convict their hearts and they're able to see, okay, God, I see it now. I understand. And I want us to be able to offer each other grace, God. And we thank you. We thank you for their relationship, even the demise of the relationship. We thank you because all things work together for the good of them that love God and to the called according to your purpose. So God, there's also a lesson in this. We give you all the praise, glory, and adoration. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Derrick, thank you so much.
And thank you.
For being on the
Appreciate
Future Wifey podcast.
It's my pleasure, man. Thank you.
Ladarian thrusted suddenly into Child Protective Services in 2015.
Y'all, that was a lot. That was a lot. Y'all saw that he triggered me, right? Y'all already saw that. But, and then the end with prayer. Oh, boy. Girl, right. My head, my stomach, I got a nasty taste in my mouth. It's just like disgust. Like my spirit ain't right, y'all. I need to get out. I need to cleanse this bullshit that we just witnessed. This was a hot mess. And what all I kept hearing was victim. I'm trying to make people feel sorry for me. Y'all saw I kept queuing up the violins. He is more worried about how he looks to others. And guess what, y'all? He definitely still ain't gonna have no problem getting women. Relationship or otherwise. He's not gonna have a problem doing it. And I wish women would just tighten the fuck up because he shouldn't get access. Access should be denied. But people will still, honey, yes, throw the tomatoes. Girl, right, I need a cleansing. Where's my sage, baby? I got to light the sage and clear the energy, open up the room. Open up the door on my balcony. Yes. And I had it sped up. I guess I could have sped it up a little bit more, but I wanted to make sure we was hearing exactly what he was saying. I do not like that man who runs that podcast. He remind me of a grimy, like somebody that preaches, has his own, like a preacher. He reminds me of that. And girl. Yeah. He did defend her. I mean, where my sage at, y'all? I need my sage. I need my sage. He filed for divorce because he wanted to be free. And that was my thing. Like every time he would say that he'll try to make it work. But no, you really wasn't. Like, you didn't even, like, I don't even think that was like a real thought in his head. I think he was just saying it because it sounded good. But it does not sound like he ever wanted to keep going. And then you throw the children on top of it. That's a whole nother thing. You know what I'm saying? But baby, he almost took me out talking about he was in the driveway with the gun in the lap. He almost took me out, y'all. I almost wasn't going to be able to do the rest of the interview. I was really, really outdone. And, you know, when his children get of age and they watch the Danae interview, the mom's interview, and then you watch his interview, what does that do? Like, I mean, I understand that parents are, we're human. Just like you said, we're all human. Nobody's perfect. But I don't know. I just feel like trauma. Like, I always think that about Martell and Mel's kids. Their whole life was pretty much documented. The dissolvement of their marriage was documented. Them children can go back and see how Martell disrespected that woman. It was this. It's so crazy to me. I just, what we gonna do, girl? It's 2:00 here. I'm really gonna have to sage. So I'm about to get up and take a little walk, sage my, because like I said, I need to get this up off of me. I'm glad we had a great conversation in the chat. Y'all really had me dying laughing. It was hilarious. Y'all make sure you check out the shy video I did yesterday. You remember I said me and Monique Nicole might do. We did it. Check that video out. And then also to meet us back here at 7:30 for reality TV talk, where we're talking Bell Collective, Love and Marriage Detroit, and ROA. 100 women's. Yeah, they'll see it. I did enjoy this. I did enjoy it. Yeah, I hope we got the lessons that we needed. I hope that you hear like the red flags, and you hear how he's talking, and if you look at his content and how he does exactly what his content lays out for you, he knows because he's an expert at it. So y'all make sure y'all hold these men accountable. Don't put up with the bullshit. Cut your losses. If it's not an investment, if it's not making your life better, grander, sweeter, cut your goddamn losses and work on yourself. Love yourself. Create the life that you want. So that's one of the things that I just wanted to say. So thank y'all. I want to go see Blue Beetle today. I wonder if I can go. I'm gonna have to take off for the rest of the day, right? This was a nice little lunch, y'all. Yes. I'm glad you get it. Glad you get it. Love and light, y'all. I appreciate y'all so much. I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye-bye.